All right, moving on with some international updates. Wall Street's main indices posted gains on Monday, with increases in Amazon.com shares and the energy sector. AS Treasury yields rose further and investors look to economic data and Federal Reserve policymakers' remarks later in the week for clarity on the path for interest rates. Investors are grappling with the rise in benchmark Treasury yields to 16-year highs after the Fed gave a hawkish longer-term rate outlook. The S&P 500 rebounded on Monday after last week it had its biggest weekly drop since March. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 43 points or 0.13%. S&P 500 gained 17.38 points or 0.40%, and the Nasdaq Composite added 59.51 points or 0.45%. Among S&P 500 sectors, energy led the way, rising 1.3%, while materials gained 0.8%. Defensive sectors lagged, with consumer staples group dropping 0.4%. The S&P 500 has slid about 5.5% since late July, but remains up about 13% for 2023 this year. And moving on to US markets.
All right, Nabila, let's take a look at some of the S&P 500 performance as of last night or this morning. This is the color as of this morning. You can see the green and also the red, some of red color and also gray color, we'll say, Microsoft gray color. It added basically 0.17%. Microsoft now, the related news about Microsoft is basically Microsoft Corp lost its only sell rating on Monday as Guggenheim upgraded its view on the software giant to neutral, citing a tailwind from generative artificial intelligence or AI. The firm cites struggles with Microsoft's Windows product as one of the troubling dynamics weighing on the stock, along with growing pains in the market and also the company's Azure cloud computing business. And also shares dipped 0.3% on Monday, on track for the 7th straight negative session, while the stock is up 32% year to date or this year, with investor excitement surrounding AI, a primary contributor to the rally. And also Microsoft is coming off its biggest one-week percentage drop since January, and Guggenheim stepping away from its bearish view reinforces the positive consensus surrounding Microsoft itself.
And meanwhile, for Adobe, if I can show to you, the color is sort of gray or purple, and it losses 0.25% and stood at 511.60. And on related news, Adobe stock has gained 53% year to date as compared to the 13% rise in the S&P 500 index over the same period. And further, Adobe stock is currently trading around $514, which is 13% below its fair value of $594. And interestingly, Adobe's 0.3% stock had a sharp ratio of 0.8 since early 2017, which is higher than 0.6 for the S&P 500 index over the same period. And this compares with a sharp of 1.25 for the Trefis reinforced value portfolio. And sharp is a measure of return per unit of risk, and high performance portfolios can provide the best of both worlds.
Of course, the stocks that being the focus by the investors and also the market is NVIDIA. NVIDIA as of last night is up by 1.47% or 422 units or points as of last night as compared to the peers. Of course, the news about NVIDIA, there's a lot of things about NVIDIA, Nabila, basically, but NVIDIA is poised to ascend first in the semiconductor world in 2023. The report indicates that NVIDIA is on track to achieve a remarkable revenue of nearly $53 billion in fiscal year 2023, and NVIDIA builds products like GPUs using semiconductors that are manufactured by original equipment manufacturers or OEM, such as the TSMC. And also the report underscores NVIDIA's extraordinary growth with its projected revenue for the current year, nearly doubling the figures of 2022, which is stood at $26.3 billion. And this surge is primarily driven by the soaring demand for NVIDIA's processors, which are instrumental in fueling the ongoing AI revolution. And NVIDIA, of course, posted a revenue of $7.1 billion in Q1 alone, an all-time high of $13.5 billion in Q2 2023. And analysts estimate that for Q3 will generate around $16 billion US dollars.
And that's on NVIDIA. Meanwhile, Qualcomm, the color is green, means it was up by 2.55% and stood at 110.43 points. And on related news on Qualcomm is on Monday, leaked documents allegedly from Qualcomm hinted at the release of not one but two variants of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 system on a chip, and the tech giant is expected to introduce the flagship chipset next month at the Snapdragon Summit on October 24th. And Snapdragon 8 Generation 3 SoC is set to succeed the powerful Snapdragon 8 Generation 2, commonly found in flagship Android smartphones. And the new SoC will be produced by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, using their 4nm process node, promising significant improvements in performance and energy efficiency. Najib.
Of course, the likable counter, or our colleague Ibrahim Sani's favorite counter is Apple. He has the share in Apple, basically.
And
Apple was up 0.74% as of last night, up by 176 points for Apple. And of course, the news about Apple supplier Pegatron temporarily halted iPhone assembly in its facility in South India on Monday, or September 25th, after a fire on Sunday night. Three sources familiar with the matter told Reuters. And of course, the Taiwanese firm has called off shifts for the day at the factory near the city of Chennai in Tamil Nadu state, and is yet to inform assembly workers whether the facility will be function on Tuesday. Two of the sources added, and Pegatron told Reuters in the statement that there was a spark incident at the facility that is currently under control, and incident does not have significant financial or operational impact for the company. While the facility has a production capacity of about 26,000 iPhones per day, it has been assembling about 8,000 to 12,000 iPhones per day in recent months, and industry sources said. And of course, Pegatron declined to comment of the production estimate about that. That is about Apple, basically, the news related to Apple. Yeah.
All right, that's on Apple. Moving on about Amazon, if I can show you here, Amazon is up by 1.67% and it stood at 131.27, and the color is green, if you can see right here. And on related news, Amazon.com on Monday said it will invest up to $4 billion in cash in the high-profile startup Anthropic in its effort to compete with the growing cloud rivals on artificial intelligence. And Amazon says employees and cloud customers will gain early access to technology from Anthropic as part of the deal, which they can infuse into their businesses. And the San Francisco-based startup also committed to rely primarily on Amazon's cloud services, including training its future AI models on large quantities of proprietary chips it would buy from the online retailing and computing giant. In a joint interview, the CEOs of Amazon's cloud division and Anthropic said the immediate investment will be $1.25 billion, with either party having the authority to trigger another $2.75 billion in funding by Amazon. And they declined to state how much Amazon now would own of Anthropic or the startup's updated valuation, and last estimated at more than $4 billion. Amazon said it would not gain a board seat, and that is stake amounted to a minority position.